Thank you all for attending our new student orientation, our webinar for this evening, just to give you guys some information about the school. I am Dr. Hammond, Interim Principal of Cheltenham High School. Just to make a little joke, I am probably the only Cheltenham administrator that has been an employed member of each of our unions, BEC, CEA, and CASA. I've been a member of the district for a little over 20 years, spent most of that time teaching math and computer science, and the last 9 years or so as a vice principal at the high school. So I am extremely excited to step up into this capacity and continue to serve this community and to make our high school an even better experience for our students. We begin every one of our presentations just highlighting our vision and our mission. I'm not going to read them to you, but as I said to my staff in our first meeting, you won't find another district that puts an emphasis on making sure that our students feel that they belong and has a devotion to looking out for the social and emotional well-being for our students. So my administrative team, it's myself as the interim principal. I have Miss Lori Felgois. I have Mr. Mark Hoff. My athletic director is Patrick Fleury. I have 2 more assistant vice principals that will start later on, Jennifer Lennon and Dr. Curtis Cowens. But in the interim, in the meantime, they are being replaced by longstanding Cheltenham employee, Dr. Cheryl Horsey and Lynn Trumbetti. Also on this Zoom call is our department chair for guidance, our school counselors, and that is Miss Ambrosia Martin. Tonight, there's a variety of topics we're going to cover. We're going to look at ID cards and Chromebooks, supports that are in place for our students. I'm going to briefly talk about vaping. We're going to talk about our nursing office, some academics. We're going to talk about our schedules, attendance, the food services program, students in their lockers, and then we'll finish up with a brief glance on activities and athletics. All of our students are required to have an ID and carry that ID with them. They will need that for multiple things throughout the day. Coming into school, swiping in to say that they're present. ID cards, we reissued a new ID card for every student. They will get them during this first week of school through their homerooms, which are kind of only during our first few weeks of school, and I'll talk about that later. We will be lenient in the first 2 replacements with an ID card, but once a student loses it after that, we do have a $5 replacement charge. They are not cheap. And so once they go for their 3rd one, that's when they'll start getting a student obligation. Our district issued Chromebooks, most of our returning students already have their Chromebook. New students will be able to pick them up in the library during the first week of school. If a student did have a Chromebook coming from Cedarbrook or after they were in the high school and it gets damaged, they take it to the library and the library will take that Chromebook, issue them a loaner, and it will be replaced. If it is lost, that's when they would be charged a $280 replacement fee before they can get a new Chromebook. We have many supports at the high school. We have our school counselors, which we'll highlight on the next slide or 2. We have mental health and wellness counselors, Miss Brianna Mangum, who is new, as well as Dr. Cheryl Horsey. We have a crisis interventionist and who also does some mentoring with our students, Mr. Rick Bell. And then we have an Aldersgate counselor for SAP. And then we are working on getting a drug and alcohol counselor, but we have through Aldersgate an already established drug and alcohol program that students go through. But as soon as we verify the counselor, we will also have that as an additional support for our students. I've received several emails about our counselor breakdown. Here it is. It will get posted on our website, and you will have access to this. I will send this out as well in one of my communications, but this is the breakdown for it for our students. All of our administrators we break up our student population by the alphabet. Same thing with our counselors. If you need counseling support, we ask, and I put an emphasis there on email your school counselor to schedule a meeting. That is the fastest way you will get a response and a scheduled time to meet with your counselor. If they do stop into the office, they can see the administrative assistant and try to schedule an appointment, but to guarantee time with their counselor, we ask that they email. We wanted to emphasize vaping with all of you tonight because it's really an issue in all schools, wherever you go. And the convenience on getting vapes is increasing for our students, to the point where it's almost as easy as going to the grocery store and buying something. If you know your child has a problem with vaping, please reach out to the school counselor. We do have counseling services that they can connect you with. Like I said, the drug and alcohol program, but I'd rather be proactive and have something like that in place than to have your child get caught with consequences of being caught vaping. Students caught in possession of vaping devices will face consequences as outlined in our school board policy. That is our AR 218. When this presentation is posted, there is a link to that board policy. You can also see that board policy from our website. And in addition, with following that district policy, we will be mandating drug and alcohol counseling when students are caught with that first offense. They may still get a suspension, but we want to make sure they get the help that they need. It's when we have the repeated offenses that those consequences start to escalate. We are a safe to say school. If you see something, we want you to say it. Nobody knows when you say it on safe to say, but it goes instantly to every administrator so that they can follow up on that tip and make sure that we get people the support that they need. Or we can investigate situations that are, suspicious. We really want everybody to say something because that's the only way we're going to make a change and stop some of the behaviors that we do not want to see within the school, is if people say what's going on so that we can get a handle on it and get ahead of those situations. We also have our school nurses, Miss Danelle Forte and Miss Aisha Ray. You'll see the access to their phone numbers there. We do only have 2 nurses in the high school. And so while there's always a nurse in the building and the office is always open, if one nurse is there, we ask that our students only come down for a case of an emergency. All students need a pass to go to the nurse. And if a student is saying that they don't feel well and they need to go home, it will only be an excused absence for a parent to come and pick up that child if it's coming from the nurse. So if your child calls you and says they're not feeling well, come pick them up. Please make sure that you speak to the nurse so that it is an excused absence and it's not held against your child. If there's something that's going on outside of the school, your child gets injured or needs some additional supports because of a medical condition, a concussion, please talk to that nurse so that they can make accommodations and communicate with all of the teachers to make sure that that's happened. Off or fellows, you guys want to
I'm good.
go?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Mark Hoffman, one of the vice principals. And in the next few slides, we want to focus on academics. We do have a mix of state and school requirements. And as we go through the scheduling process over the next few years with your students, they'll have consistent meetings with their guidance counselors to make sure they're moving towards graduation and are able to explore the courses that will really make high school special for many of them. In terms of our the way we communicate information and provide assignments, we use two different systems. We use Canvas, which is a system in which teachers use to give assignments out and provide information about classes. Students will submit work through Canvas in many courses. And then PowerSchool is where you go in and see accurate grades and accurate attendance. And so we're going to show you briefly how to get into both of those in subsequent slides. We do have a physical education requirement. Our ninth graders take a physical education course, and then there's a second one required at some point later in their career. We do require that all students take at least 1 year of world language. We do have over 30 AP courses and many honors courses that our students have access to. And we're always working to challenge our students to take the most challenging courses for where they are at the moment. We do provide students access to the Eastern Center, and students in grades 11 and 12 have access to those experiences. In 10th grade, we bring people in from Eastern so that they're able to meet with our students, provide information about the programs, and our guidance counselors work very closely with our students about the appropriate programs for them at Eastern. We do have a robust music and arts program that is really the highlight for many of our students. We also have the opportunity for students to be in a project-based learning environment where a mix of academics and skill development really drive their academic experience. And that's available in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So in order to move us towards graduation, we use a block schedule here at Cheltenham. Students have the ability to earn 8 credits a year. And so in order to be a sophomore, you need to earn 7 of those 8 credits, juniors 14, and to get senior status, you need to be at 21 credits. And then the credit requirement for graduation is 28 credits. So those two portals here, and these links will be live when you gain access to this presentation. But students access PowerSchool by using the username of their graduation year. And so that's an example for a junior on the screen, 26. And then the first initial of their first name, and then their last name. And then their password, which gets reset, is their student ID number with 2 zeros in front of it. So students are able to reset that password so that they have that confidentiality there. The Canvas login process is very similar. You're going to use that username again without the email address to it. Again, the password there, and these things can be changed. So 2 different portals: PowerSchool for accurate grades and attendance, Canvas for interaction with other students within a class and with the teacher in that class. So you as a parent can access both of these things, and we really, really encourage you to do so. Your ability to have conversations with your student really helps their academic progress and really helps communication between teachers and parents. And so that Power School, again, is where you'll get grade access and where you'll see attendance. And we really recommend that you create that account as soon as possible if you have not had Power School access before. And then the same thing with Canvas. I do want to note with Canvas, that is the portal that teachers use. Some teachers use it more than others. So if you're seeing a course that's having heavy Canvas use, you're probably seeing most of what a student is encountering in that class. If you're seeing a course where there's not a lot of work posted in there, it's very well that the teacher is using other methods. We still have teachers that are very much into paper in certain spots, that, the students are receiving materials through there. So if you're looking at a Canvas course and you're like, this doesn't quite, doesn't make sense to me, please reach out. I do want to note that the grade in Canvas, and why I emphasized earlier that Power School is where we keep our grades, the grade that's reported in Canvas is not the grade for the course, because most of our teachers use Canvas as a tool, but they are also providing assessments in other ways. And so it's a combination of those things that make the student's grade that's in Power School. So that grade that is in Canvas is not usually the grade that the student is earning at the time. It's just the grade for everything that's in Canvas. Student email, we definitely, sorry about that, Dr. Hammond. Students have access to email. We establish routines for students to be checking it, because we do send out a lot of official communications and information through their student Gmail accounts, which are cheltenham.org email accounts. Thank you, Dr. Hammond. Dr. Hammond, I believe you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. When we start the school year, in order for us to have our class meetings and to make sure that all students know the expectations that we are putting forth, we are starting in a 3-lunch schedule. You'll see when you look at your students' schedule that when they have their block 3 class, they'll either have a first lunch, a second lunch, or a third lunch written with it. That is because we start in our first block, then we'll go to a homeroom or a class meeting, and then other students will be getting some PBIS lessons. And then we'll go to a second block. We'll have some announcements. And then we either go to class or you go to lunch. And then the third block, if you have a first lunch, you're going to lunch first for 30 minutes, and then you go to your full class. If you have a second lunch, you're going to class, part of your class first, then you go to lunch, and then you go back and finish the class. And if you have third lunch, you have your full third block class, and then you go to lunch. And then all students after that will go to fourth block. We will be in this schedule for about 2 to 3 weeks to start the year. That would allow us again to go through all of our class meetings and make sure that students fully understand what we are asking when we switch to lunch and learn. I say that because when we go to lunch and learn, the difference is they have first block, second block. We do announcements. Everybody goes to lunch. And then we go to third block and then fourth block. I'm going to just say this, and I said this to my staff yesterday. Last year, lunch and learn was more of a lunch and lunch, and we did not have the structure in place to provide our students with the supports that they need. Lunch and learn is exactly that. They have lunch and they're supposed to have the opportunity to get some intervention and supports where needed. So any student who has a grade of below a C, a D or an F, they must get support during that time. And so parents, I'm apologizing in advance because you will get some phone calls. You may even be called in for some meetings, because if I have a student that is not taking the supports that they need, and we need to make sure that their grades are going up and they're intentionally trying to miss that, I need to start putting in some consequences. And I don't want to do anything punitive, but I need to make sure they get the supports that they need. So we'll first start escorting them to their intervention classes, to their supports. We'll have the library set up for a whole tutoring center, and we'll bring them to the library to get some supports. But if they are still turning that down, I'm going to have some phone calls, and I'm going to be talking to you and asking for your support and assistance to make sure that we get your child to the supports that they need. And if they're still not going, then I may have to start looking at removing that lunch and learn from an individual. And they may be spending that lunch and learn in detention. And then, again, getting some supports or some tutoring sessions. But my goal is to make sure that we provide that structure and support, because I do not want any of my students falling behind. And at Cheltenham, we have so many opportunities and resources. There is no reason for any of our scholars to be falling behind and not taking advantage of the work that is being put in front of them. So please know that Lunch and Learn will be a structured environment. It will not be all over the place. We will have opportunities in place for students. The gym, everybody loves a gym. It will be a place that students can sign up to go if they're passing all of their classes. We already have the capability in Power School. It's a program called Adaptive Scheduler, where teachers will be creating sessions that students can sign up for. However, we also have the opportunity to have sessions set up that can only be seen by a student that is passing all of their classes. And so we will be fully utilizing that this year and making sure that all of our students get the support that they need. And I beg you, I plead with you, please help me, help your child. That is why I do what I do every day. That's why I come to work. I want my students to be successful, and I want them to go on and be better, productive citizens after they leave Cheltenham. And I can only do that with your support and with your help going through that process. We also have early dismissals this year, and we did not put the early dismissal schedule because we're still trying to tweak it out to make sure that it's the best possible schedule. But what changed and why we want to highlight it is that early dismissals across the board every day, and every time we have an early dismissal at the high school, is now at 12 o'clock instead of 12:50. So every early dismissal day, there's about 2 a month, and then there's the holiday dismissals that you have outlined here on the screen. Our students will get out of school at 12 p.m. For any student anywhere, time management is important. It is a key for success, and it is something that we all need to work on teaching our students. We will always have people that procrastinate, but we really need to make sure that if we want our children to be successful, we help them with that time management. We help make sure that they have some studying time at home, or they have a quiet place at home to do some work. One thing that is beneficial about the block schedule is that teachers do try to get a lot of the homework completed within that class period. So sometimes your child will come home and say, I don't have any work. That could be true. However, even though we want to give them that freedom that you are growing into an adult, still check Power School, still check Canvas, make sure that their grades are what they're saying they are. Make sure that they really, if their grade is not what you expect of them, chances are they have work that they need to be completing. And so when they say they don't have anything, please stay with them to work with them on finding the time to do those things that they need to do. Again, continue to encourage our students to use Lunch and Learn wisely. And hopefully you don't get any phone calls, because that means they are doing that. But if you do, please support us on making sure that they use that Lunch and Learn time. We also have tutors from NHS, our National Honor Society, as well as our World Language Honor Society, that provide tutoring. Even our Black Scholars Program provides tutoring. Make sure that they use their student tutors. We will also have after-school homework clubs set up once we get rolling into the school program. It may be some of our National Honor Society, our students tutoring students. It could also be our athletes supporting other athletes. But please make sure that your child takes advantage of all the different opportunities there are within the school day to get the support they need. It is very easy for our students to dig that hole, and it's harder to get out of that hole once you get there. So when we see them digging that hole, we need to step up and put something in place to stop that. All of our courses will be giving out to students a course expectation sheet, and you'll see that the teacher's information is there for how you contact our teachers. You will also see what the grading breakdown is and what the expectations, what everything is for that course. If there's ever a concern or ever an issue that comes up, don't wait till the end of the course to make contact. Email right away, communicate with that teacher. If a phone call is best for you, tell them, here's my phone number. This is the best way to reach me, so that you can make contact and do something. We can put something in place. We can put a plan in place to support your child. If you're having a difficulty making contact, reach out to the counselor or the administrator. They can also let that teacher know, or set up a meeting if we need to get to that point, so that, again, we can create a plan to support your child. I'm going to switch gears now and start talking about attendance. Everything in attendance goes through our attendance office and our attendance administrative assistant, Miss Patsy Jarvis, which can be reached at chsattendance@cheltenham.org. If you ever have to submit an absence letter or an absence note, it's easiest if you email it to the attendance office. Provide the student's name, the grade, and the reason for that absence. You need to submit your attendance notes within 3 days of the absence for it to be accepted and the absence to turn to an excused absence. Again, I mentioned in the beginning about IDs being needed. Every day there's machines like this on the left in our hallway at the entrances that students come in. All they have to do, where those blue arrows are, there's like a little blue light. They take their ID and they tap it on that blue light, and their picture will pop up and it will mark them present to school. If they do not do that, they will be marked unexcused absent for the day. So when you start looking later on and you see all these unexcused absences, and you call up and you say, my child was not absent 10 times, Dr. Hammond, something's wrong there. You guys need to fix it. Chances are your child did not swipe in when they came to school. So please make sure that when they come in, they're swiping in. If they forget their ID, they can type in their student ID number and it will still mark them present. So there's really no excuse for them to bypass that swipe in point, other than they just didn't feel like it. And again, that's going to mark them as unexcused absent. When we're in our 3 lunches, that scholarship machine actually can read their Power School schedule, and it will tell us in the cafeteria whether or not your child has that lunch, so that they cannot try to skip their class to attend a separate lunch. It will mark them red, and it will tell us to send them back to class. Again, with student absences, all absences are unexcused until that note is received, or what I mean by the note, that email is received. However, you're only allowed 10 days of parent notes for absences, for late arrival or early dismissal, or just out from school in general. You're only allowed to do a note yourself 10 days. After 10 days, the attendance office is going to write you a communication and let you know that you have used your 10 days, and any absence that needs to be excused after that needs to come in the form of a doctor's note. That is all part of our school district policy. If you have a pre-scheduled early dismissal, send your email to the attendance office no later than 7 a.m. And then that day, your student will report in the morning to the attendance office, and the attendance office will give them a pass so that when it's time for their dismissal, they can just get up, show the pass, and leave class. But we ask all students as they're leaving to just go to the attendance office and sign out so that we have documentation that they left the building. If there's an early dismissal due to an illness, as I said earlier, that needs to come from the nurse's office. If it's not coming from the nurse's office and your child is just saying, I don't feel well, pick me up, they will get marked unexcused absent for those classes. And when you're unexcused absent in classes, there are also grading issues that come in place with the student missing that class. So you always want your absences to be excused. So please make sure that they go to the nurse and have the nurse send them home. And so when you come, you'll be sent to the attendance office to sign out your child, and then you'll pick them up from the nurse's office. If it's just an emergency and your child didn't know they were going home and you found out last minute, I gotta go pick them up. You'll sign out your child. They'll call the class and try to get your child sent down in a timely fashion. However, you need to do that 30 minutes before the school day ends, over 30 minutes before the school day ends. So on a normal dismissal, we get out of school at 2:30 p.m. You need to come to the school before 2 o'clock. On an early dismissal day at 12 o'clock, you need to come to the school by 11:30. And I say that because the attendance office needs time to try to find your child to get them down. And so if it is a family emergency, you won't go to the attendance office. The receptionist will work with you at that time to try to get your child. But in order to go through the full process, if you do need to pick up, please try to be there before 30 minutes before the end of the school day so that we're not running into parents parking where buses are picking up and then parents getting stuck in the bus lanes and buses, parking around you. If you are absent for 3 days of unexcused absences, a letter will be sent home indicating the need for a student attendance improvement plan. This is the start of that truancy process. And it's not 3 consecutive days. It is 3 days in general. You could be absent the second day of school. You could be absent the end of September, and then you could be absent the end of October. And then you're going to get sent that letter if all 3 of those absences are unexcused. And they're just going to let you know, hey, you've missed 3 days. And they're going to want to talk just to make sure that everything's okay. If you get to 10 days unexcused absences, that is when we're really getting into truancy. And the letter will be mailed home indicating that they are being considered truant. And they'll want to set up a meeting to discuss that. And in certain situations, it may even go further where we're looking at possibility of truancy court. Our Office of Student Services will always make sure that we're working with you to try to improve the situation before it ever gets to that point. But our goal is to have you in school, not to be out of school. So for whatever reason, if there is a reason that a child is home that long, we need to figure it out so that we can get them back in the building, because that's our ultimate goal. If you are absent for 3 or more consecutive days, you will need a physician's note coming back to excuse those absences. And if you are absent for 10 consecutive days, you could be dropped from the rolls. Okay, they could consider that as a withdrawal, and they would drop you and then re-enroll you once you come and meet at the district office. We do have special absences. There are college visits that take place within the high school. All you need to do if you are doing a college visit is have the college send their email confirmation of the visit, and you send that to the attendance office prior to your visit, and your absence will be excused. If your family is going on a trip, you can request an educational trip. There is a form that I have linked here to the presentation where you can be granted up to 5 days of an excused absence. But you need to fill that form in. You need to fill it out and submit it at least 2 weeks prior to going on your trip. Parents, when you're looking at Power School and you're looking at what we call our students' quick lookup, there is a section where you will see attendance. If it's blank, that means your child was present, and so forth, as you see there. If you see U's, that means they were unexcused absent. If you see an LCU, that means they were late to class and they didn't have a pass. If you see an LCE, they were late to class and they did have a pass. The attendance office is the only people that are able to change those unexcused absences to excused. So a teacher can't change it. It has to come from the attendance office. Our expectation is that our students are attending class daily. Our teachers take class every day in Power School. And when a student is not in class as unexcused, they can reduce credit and do that in accordance with our student late work policy that will be in our student handbook. If a student is found to be skipping a class, that will result with progressive disciplinary actions. You can see what those progressive options are in that AR 218 that I highlighted earlier in the slideshow. But if those things continue, again, it's progressive. And while I am a product of being a student athlete, and I believe wholeheartedly in the value of what after school activities and athletics can provide for the life of one of our scholars, if those behaviors are continuing and we're trying other actions and we're even talking to the coaches and it's still not getting better, we could look at temporarily removing from participation in those after school activities or events. We're now at our food services. Whitson's is the company that provides our lunch. It also provides our breakfast. We are still having through our national program, the free breakfast option in the beginning of the school year. Students can go to the cafeteria, type in their ID number, and receive a minimum free breakfast. There are also other a la carte options that students can purchase while they're in there. As a parent, you can put money electronically on your account, or you can give money to the cashier to add to that account. A typical lunch is $3.25, but again, there are separate items that students can purchase. So one disclaimer I will always give when it comes to this: if you're putting money on your child's account, please keep an eye on it, because that money can run out really quickly. If they're buying different things or they're buying something for a friend, it can really add up very fast. And then next thing you know, you put $20 on 1 week, and 2 days later, they're asking you to add some more back on there. So have that conversation, look at the prices. You can log into School Cafe to figure all of that out. And I believe you can even see the menu in there with pricing. Also, if you want to apply for the free and reduced lunch program, when you go into School Cafe, there is the application for that program as well. Last thing I want to highlight and stress, more importantly than anything, is we do not allow outside food deliveries on campus. No DoorDash, no Grubhub. We do not allow those things. If your child is seen trying to go outside to get them, they will be disciplined. If you as a parent bring food to the school, you can bring it yourself and drop it off at the flagpole entrance, and we will make sure they get it. But we cannot take the delivery drivers. They do not have clearances to be around kids, and they are relentless. They will walk around the school and go from door to door trying to get to our schools, our students to give them this food, and it is a safety hazard. So we do not allow outside food deliveries under any circumstances. We will confiscate it. We will not make an effort to try to figure out who it belongs to. If we know who it belongs to, we may give it to them later in the day. But please understand, we do not allow outside food deliveries. And last for me, lockers. Every one of our students is assigned a locker that has its own lock, its own combination. But the number one issue with lockers is nobody wants to use their own locker. Everybody wants to use their friend's locker. And then guess what? About a month later, they're not friends anymore. And everybody has access to that locker. We do not encourage sharing of lockers. We do not want our students sharing their lockers. We want them using their own lockers. Please send that message at home. And while it's not on this slide, I'm also going to add for phys ed class. Our phys ed teachers sell combination locks, and they can get a lock to lock their lockers in phys ed. However, I'm getting the disclaimer, all of our students choose to just leave their stuff sitting on the bench, unsupervised and without it being stored in a safe place. And every year I have to have a conversation with a student about you never leave anything that is of value out because somebody will try to take it. So please encourage your students to use their lockers, use their own lockers, and get a lock for phys ed. Because nobody can take their stuff if it is secure. And while we'll do our best to try to find it, I don't have cameras everywhere. And so I don't always find certain items. And so we want them to keep their valuables safe so that nobody can mess with them.
And our last topic of the evening is athletics and activities. One of the things that I've been proud to be involved with over the course of my last 15 years here in Cheltenham is in our activities department. We offer a broad range of activities and athletic opportunities for students to engage in. And we know that the more a student is engaged, the more likely they are to succeed in our academic programming. So from Student Council to Black Student Union to National Honor Society to Organic Farm to we've had anime, we've had an entire array of clubs, and those clubs change over time as student interests change and advisors change. And so if there is something that a student wants to do that we don't have currently, we have the opportunity to add it. We also have 24 PIAA sports that are offered in the fall, winter, and spring seasons. Our fall athletes have been at it for over a week and a half at this point. We're very excited for, those games to get started. So we will have processes to support our student athletes throughout the year and opportunities to join those winter teams, to join those spring teams. Potentially, depending on where we are with the fall teams, that could still be a possibility. We also, one of the things that is a strength of our community is that we really do go out and engage all of our students. And we have a unified sports program that offers multiple sports where a broad range of students are able to go out and, work together, a combination of students who are in our Skills for Life program and have other specific needs, along with other students who come together and form really strong communities with each other. And they are wonderful programs that our students very much enjoy participating in. To participate in any of our PIAA sports, students do need to have a physical. The link that will be in this presentation will provide you an opportunity to a website that has information about that physical and opportunities to help support you in getting that physical if that's needed. Our activities and athletic director is Mr. Fleury, and his email is on the screen.
So again, thank you for coming tonight. I do see that there is one person with a hand up. If you're able to write it in the chat, I believe that's how we would be able to answer any questions. And we can take some questions at this time if you have some. I don't, I'm not able to see the questions. Are you guys? Okay.
Dr. Hammond, do you know the bus service? We have a question in the Q&A about when do we find out about bus services? I've not seen any communications on that front.
I believe it went out. What is it called? TransFinder? Ms. Fogois, what's the company called? The
It's called
service
Stop
that
Stop Finder.
Stop Finder. I do believe that did go out to families. But if you did not get that or you don't see any emails from that, I would email Derek Platt, DPLATT @cheltenham.org. He is our Director of Transportation.
Dr. Hammond, so there was a request that we go back to the Canvas and Power School slide in the presentation.
For the parent access or the students? Here's for students. And then when parents need to log on, it makes you make an account. And when you make an account as a parent, it's going to ask you for your access ID and your access password. You can contact any one of the you can contact your school counselor or one of the administrators, and they can look on PowerSchool and give you that information and help you set it up. But it's going to ask you for an access ID and an access password, which is separate from what we have on here. It is unique to your child that will allow you to link their account to your account that you're creating. And then that link that's on this page for Canvas, parents, that will tell you, it'll teach you how to link the Canvas page so that when you log on to Canvas, you can see it. And again, I said this during the presentation, I'm going to say it again. I talk to a lot of parents who say that they're giving their child that freedom to, to grow and be their own person because they're in the high school. I would still check PowerSchool and still check Canvas just to stay on top of it. That's my own 2 cents. Ms. Martin, you can add to that if you want from your experience in counseling, but I would highly, highly recommend that you still check it. They're still our children and they still need our parental guidance. We just don't have to tell them that we're checking it.
I ditto that. I do agree.
Do you guys have other questions going on? I still see the hand raised from Miss Bradshaw. Was her question answered?
I believe so. And then there was a question about having an issue in logging into PowerSchool with an incorrect access code, and I asked the participant to email me.
Yes. You guys can let me know if you're not seeing any more questions. We can start to wrap up the evening. But I just want to make sure that everybody feels that their questions were answered. You can always email afterwards, anything that you have. Um, Again, we're here to serve all of you. And our school is not going to be made better unless we're all working together to make sure our students get what they need. Any more?
There are no open questions at the moment, Dr. Hammond.
Yeah. So with that being said, I just want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you got some information that you find to be useful. Again, no question is a bad question. So if you have something that you think of afterwards, reach out to any one of us and we'll be glad to get you that answer. But thank you so much for coming. We greatly appreciate having you. And we're looking forward to having an amazing year this year. And, please reach out to me as principal if you need me. Thank you.